Hello everyone, it's Sophia here, and I have such a sweet little story I wanted to share with you today. It's about something that happened to me the other day that just completely shifted my mood. You know those days when you're stuck in traffic, and everything feels a little bit frustrating? Well, I was having one of those days. The cars were barely moving, the sun was glaring, and I was just feeling a bit stuck. And then, just as I was starting to feel a little overwhelmed, something magical happened. My absolute favorite song came on the radio. It was like the universe knew exactly what I needed. Honestly, it felt like a warm hug, a gentle breeze on a hot day. The melody washed over me, and all that tension just seemed to melt away. The world outside my car window faded into the background, and I was just there, in that moment, completely enveloped in the soothing music. It was such a simple thing, but it made such a difference. You know how sometimes the smallest moments can be the most powerful? Well, this was definitely one of those. It reminded me of the power of music, the power of finding those little pockets of peace in the midst of chaos. So, let's begin our exciting journey of English improvement together. And remember, new videos are released daily focusing on English speaking and listening skills to help you improve and enjoy your learning journey. So, you want to hear about the time I went to a jazz concert? Oh, it's a story, alright. One of those unexpected little adventures that just sticks with you. Grab a cuppa, settle in, because this might take a while. It all started with a flyer, you know, the kind you find tucked under your windshield wiper? I was having a particularly rough week. Work was insane. My cat decided the new rug was her personal scratching post, the usual chaos. Anyway, this flyer was for a jazz concert at this tiny, hole-in-the-wall club downtown. I don't even remember the name of the band, to be honest. But the picture, oh the picture. It was black and white, all smoky and atmospheric, with a saxophone player caught mid-note, eyes closed, just lost in the music. Something about it resonated. I thought, jazz. Haven't listened to that in ages. And then, on a whim, I decided to go. Now, I'm not exactly a jazz aficionado. I appreciate it, sure, but I wouldn't call myself a connoisseur. My music taste leans more towards, well, let's just say it's eclectic. But I was craving something different. Something soulful, something real, and something told me this concert might be just the ticket. Fast forward to Friday night. I'm dressed up, not too fancy, but you know, presentable, and feeling strangely nervous. Like I was going on a first date with music, or something. The club was tucked away on a side street, the kind you'd miss if you weren't looking for it. The air outside was thick with the smell of rain and something vaguely spicy? Maybe from a nearby restaurant. Intriguing. Inside, it was dim and cozy. Smaller than I expected, with low ceilings and exposed brick walls. The stage was tiny, barely big enough for a drum set and a few instruments. Tables were crammed together, covered in red checked tablecloths, and flickering candlelight danced on the walls. The air was thick with cigarette smoke, yes, people still smoked inside back then, and the murmur of conversations, punctuated by the clinking of glasses. It felt intimate, like stepping into a secret world. I managed to snag a small table near the back, feeling a little out of place. Everyone seemed to know each other, laughing and chatting like old friends. I ordered a glass of wine, feeling a little self-conscious, and just observed. Took it all in, the low hum of anticipation in the air, the way the musicians were setting up their instruments with this casual confidence, the soft chatter slowly dying down as the lights dimmed further. Then, they started. No grand announcement, no dramatic entrance. They just started playing. And, oh my God, it was like nothing I'd ever heard before. The saxophone player, the same one from the flyer, was mesmerizing. His fingers danced over the keys, effortlessly weaving this intricate tapestry of sound. The bass player, this tall, lanky guy with a mischievous grin, laid down a groove that resonated deep in my chest. The drummer, a whirlwind of energy, kept the rhythm tight and propulsive, his eyes closed, head bobbing to the beat. The music, it washed over me. It was soulful, yes, but also playful, melancholic, even a little chaotic at times. It told stories. Stories of heartbreak and joy, of late nights and smoky bars, of whispered secrets and stolen glances. It was raw, it was honest, it was real. I completely lost myself in it. I forgot about my stressful week, my cats, destructive tendencies, everything. It was just me and the music. I remember closing my eyes, letting the sound wash over me, feeling this strange mix of emotions bubbling up inside me. Happiness, sadness, nostalgia, a sense of belonging, I guess. It's hard to explain. You had to be there, you know? At some point, I realized I was tapping my foot to the rhythm, unconsciously swaying in my seat. I looked around, and everyone was doing the same. Heads bobbing, fingers snapping, smiles spreading across faces. It was like this unspoken connection, this shared understanding of something beautiful and fleeting. Like we were all in on a secret. Then, something unexpected happened. During a particularly energetic solo, the saxophone player's reed broke. Just snapped. There was this awkward silence, a collective intake of breath. I braced myself for the worst, thinking the magic was broken. But guess what? The saxophone player just chuckled, shook his head, and pulled out another reed. While he was replacing it, the bass player started improvising this funky little riff, keeping the energy up. The drummer joined in, adding a playful beat. It was like a spontaneous jam session, a little interlude of pure, unadulterated joy. And the audience? We were cheering them on, clapping along, laughing. It was amazing. When the saxophone player was ready, he winked at the audience, took a deep breath, and rejoined the music. The transition was seamless, like nothing had happened. And the music, it was even better than before. Richer, deeper, more vibrant. Like the broken reed had somehow infused it with even more soul. The rest of the evening is a bit of a blur. I remember dancing. I remember laughing with strangers. I remember feeling this overwhelming sense of gratitude, like I'd stumbled upon something truly special. It was one of those nights that reminds you of the magic hidden in the mundane, the beauty that can be found in the most unexpected places. Leaving the club, I felt transformed. Lighter, somehow, like the music had washed away all the stress and negativity, leaving me feeling refreshed and energized. The air outside smelled of rain and something else. What was it? Ah, yes, jasmine, from a nearby flower stall. It was intoxicating. I walked home slowly, reluctant to let the magic fade. You know, it's funny. I don't remember the name of the band, the name of the club, or even the specific songs they played. But I remember the feeling. The feeling of being connected to something bigger than myself, the feeling of being part of something special. And that, my friend, is what makes a truly unforgettable experience. So, yeah, that's my jazz concert story. What about you? Ever have a moment like that? One of those unexpected little adventures that just sticks with you? I'd love to hear it. Okay, so, picture this. It's a Tuesday. Not just any Tuesday, mind you, a dreary Tuesday. The kind where the sky looks like someone spilled dishwater all over it, and the air feels thick and damp, like a wet dog just shook itself out. Right next to you. And I was in desperate need of caffeine. Desperate, like, I might accidentally staple my hand to a report, levels of desperate. You know how it is, right? When you need that coffee, not just want it, but need it like a plant needs sunlight. That was me. My usual coffee haunt, the Daily Grind, was closed for renovations. Something about a rogue espresso machine and a minor flood. So, I was adrift, caffeine-less, and feeling frankly, a bit panicky. Across the street, I spotted it. The cozy kettle. I'd walked past it 100 times but never ventured in. It looked different, a little too earthy for me, if you know what I mean. Lots of hanging plants, wind chimes tinkling melancholically in the breeze, and a faint smell of incense that I couldn't quite place. But, hey, desperate times, right? I took a deep breath, pushed open the heavy wooden door, and bam! Hit with a wall of patchouli. Strong patchouli, the kind that clings to your clothes and follows you home. I momentarily considered turning back, picturing my cardigan smelling like a hippie commune for the rest of the week. But the rumbling in my stomach reminded me of my mission: coffee. Strong, life-giving coffee. The inside was even cozier than I expected. Dim lighting, mismatched armchairs, and tiny tables adorned with crocheted doilies. Soft jazz music played from a vintage record player in the corner, the kind with a needle that you could practically hear scratching across the vinyl. It was a stark contrast to the sleek, minimalist vibe of the daily grind, with its chrome espresso machine and thumping pop music. I shuffled up to the counter, where a woman with long, flowing gray hair and a beaded necklace was arranging flowers in a vase. She looked like she'd just stepped out of a Renaissance fair. "Welcome to the Cozy Kettle," she said, her voice warm and melodic. "What can I get for you, dear?" Now, at the daily grind, my order is a well-rehearsed ritual. Large iced latte, 2 pumps of vanilla, extra shot. Quick, efficient, no fuss. But here, looking at the chalkboard menu filled with things like moon milk latte and chakra chai, I felt out of my depth. I stammered, feeling a blush creep up my neck. "Coffee? Just regular coffee?" She smiled, a knowing twinkle in her eye. "We have a lovely Ethiopian Yirgacheffe today. Single origin, light roast. Notes of citrus and bergamot." Citrus and bergamot? What was bergamot, anyway? Some kind of exotic fruit? A small woodland creature? I had no idea, but, feeling utterly flustered, I just nodded. "Sure, that sounds great." I paid slightly more than I was used to, but hey, bergamot probably costs a fortune to import, and took a seat in a worn velvet armchair. The place was surprisingly busy, filled with a mix of students hunched over laptops, elderly ladies knitting, and, I kid you not, a guy with a ukulele. It felt like I'd stumbled into a secret society of, well, I wasn't sure exactly. But they all seemed very comfortable in their patchouli-scented, bergamot-infused world. As I waited for my coffee, I noticed a stack of board games on a nearby shelf. Monopoly, Scrabble, even Candyland. Who plays Candyland in a coffee shop? I chuckled to myself, then caught the eye of the ukulele guy. He gave me a friendly nod, and I awkwardly nodded back, feeling like I'd been caught laughing at his ukulele-ness. I quickly buried my face in my phone, pretending to be engrossed in a very important email about staplers. Finally, my coffee arrived. It wasn't in a paper cup with a plastic lid, like I was used to. Oh no, it was served in a delicate, hand-painted ceramic mug, the kind your grandma might have in her china cabinet. And it didn't smell like regular coffee. It smelled floral, and a little fruity, and definitely, undeniably, bergamot. Why? I took a tentative sip. And, wow, it was different. Not bad different, just different. Light and bright, with a subtle sweetness. It didn't have that bitter, burnt taste that I usually associated with coffee. It was, well, it was kind of like drinking a cup of sunshine filtered through a field of wildflowers. Okay, that's a bit dramatic, but you get the idea. It was surprisingly good. Guess what happened next? The ukulele guy, whose name, I learned, was Dave, invited me to join him and a couple of others for a game of Scrabble. Scrabble, in a coffee shop. It was the most unexpected, on-Tuesday-like thing I could imagine. But, fueled by my bergamot-infused caffeine buzz, I said yes. And you know what? It was fun. Really fun. We laughed, we strategized, we argued over whether "chi" was a valid word. It is, apparently. I even won a couple of rounds, which, let's be honest, never happens when I play Scrabble with my fiercely competitive family. By the time I left the Cozy Kettle, the dishwater sky had cleared, revealing a sliver of late afternoon sun. I felt lighter, more relaxed, less like I might staple my hand to something. And my cardigan? Well, it definitely smelled like patchouli. But, strangely, I didn't mind so much. The next day, I went back to the daily grind. It had been miraculously resurrected, the rogue espresso machine tamed, the floodwaters receded. I ordered my usual large iced latte, 2 pumps of vanilla, extra shot. And as I took that first familiar sip, I realized something. It was good, but it wasn't bergamot. Now, I'm not saying I've become a full-fledged Cozy Kettle convert. I still crave the familiar comfort of my iced vanilla latte. But sometimes, on a particularly dreary Tuesday, or maybe even a sunny Wednesday, I find myself drawn back to that little patchouli-scented haven, with its mismatched armchairs and its ukulele-playing patrons. And I order a cup of something with bergamot, and maybe even play a round of Scrabble. Because sometimes, you need a little bit of the unexpected. A little bit of the cozy. You know what I mean? Hey everyone, learning a new language can feel like climbing a mountain, right? But you know what? Be proud of every mistake. It means you're learning. Honestly, every time you stumble over a word or mix up a tense, it's proof that you're stretching your brain and stepping outside your comfort zone. That's where the real growth happens. Those little mistakes are like tiny victories because they're taking you closer to fluency. Embrace them. You're doing amazing. And you know what? Something I've found incredibly helpful is ordering food while practicing. Think about it. You're in a low-pressure environment. You usually have a menu to guide you, and the interaction is short and sweet. You could even practice what you're going to say while you're cooking dinner. It's a fun, easy way to slip some English practice into your daily routine. Expressing compliments, though, that's another story. Do you also find yourself understanding what others say in English, but hesitate when it's your turn to speak? It's so common. I remember wanting to tell someone I loved their shoes, but the words just wouldn't come out right. It can be a bit nerve-wracking to put your thoughts and feelings into words, especially in a different language. But the more you do it, the easier it becomes. Speaking of practicing, have you tried any language speaking apps? You will not believe what happened next. I was waiting for my coffee the other day, and I overheard someone using one. It was fascinating to see how they could practice conversations with different prompts and get instant feedback. It sparked my curiosity, and I started wondering what other tools are out there. What about you? Have you found any apps that you find particularly helpful? Share your experiences in the comments below. Okay, so, grab a cuppa, settle in, because I have a story for you. It's about the time I decided, rather impulsively, I might add, to volunteer at a community garden. I mean, me, the girl whose thumbs are more brown than green. You know, the kind of brown that implies death, not nurturing. Right? So this was a journey, let's just say. It all started with this restlessness, I guess. I was feeling this disconnect, like I was floating through life, not really in it. And I'd seen this little patch of green tucked away behind the library, a riot of colors and life buzzing with bees. I'd walk past and think, that looks peaceful. So one day, I just walked in. It was a Saturday morning, early-ish. The air was still cool, but the sun was already promising warmth. And the smell, oh my goodness. That rich, earthy scent of damp soil, mingled with the sweetness of blossoms. It hit me like a wave, this completely unexpected sense of belonging, maybe? There were a few people already there, their hands buried in the dirt. They looked up as I approached, these friendly, weathered faces. Now, I'm not usually one to just insert myself into situations, but something about this place just felt inviting. I introduced myself to a woman with dirt smudged on her cheek and a smile as bright as the sunflowers towering over us. Her name was Margaret, and she welcomed me like I'd been coming there for years. We can always use an extra pair of hands, she'd said, handing me a trowel that felt surprisingly heavy and cool in my palm. My first task? Weeding. Now, I envisioned myself gently plucking out unwanted plants, like in a gardening magazine. The reality? It was a full-on wrestling match with these tenacious roots that clung to the earth like they owned the place. I grunted, I pulled. I may have even let out a small, undignified squeal. At one point, Margaret, bless her heart, just chuckled and showed me the proper technique. Get down low, grasp the base, and pull firmly but gently. It was a whole science, apparently. And the dirt, oh, the glorious dirt. It got under my fingernails, caked onto my shoes, even found its way into my hair somehow. But you know what? It didn't bother me. It felt real, like I was connecting with something ancient, something primal. It's funny, isn't it? How something as simple as dirt can make you feel grounded. As the morning went on, I met the other gardeners. There was David, a retired teacher with a seemingly encyclopedic knowledge of every plant imaginable. He'd point out tiny seedlings and tell me their names, their histories, the conditions they needed to thrive. It was fascinating. Then there was Maria, who always had a story to tell, her hands moving swiftly as she pruned tomato plants, her voice filled with the rhythm of her native Spanish. I learned so much that day. Not just about gardening, though I did learn the difference between a zucchini and a cucumber, finally, but about community, about sharing, about the quiet satisfaction of nurturing something from a tiny seed to a vibrant, living thing. We planted rows of lettuce, their delicate leaves a vibrant green against the dark earth. We staked up tomato plants, their heavy branches laden with promising green orbs. We even harvested some early raspberries, warm from the sun, their sweet juice bursting in our mouths. Now, there were moments of clumsiness, let's call it that. Like the time I accidentally snapped a beanstalk in half, or when I overwatered a patch of basil, turning its leaves a sickly yellow. But everyone was so patient, so encouraging. They'd just smile and say, "It happens. You learn." And you know what? I did. Slowly, awkwardly, but I did. Lunch was a potluck affair, spread out on a picnic table under the shade of a sprawling oak tree. There were salads made with fresh greens from the garden, crusty bread, homemade jams, and laughter. So much laughter. It was like being part of a big, slightly chaotic, but incredibly loving family. As the afternoon wore on, a sense of peace settled over me. The kind of peace that comes from being fully present, fully engaged in something outside of yourself. The buzzing of the bees, the chirping of the crickets, the gentle rustle of the leaves in the breeze. It all became this beautiful symphony of life. And the garden itself, it was more than just a patch of land. It was a haven, a sanctuary, a place where people from all walks of life came together to connect, to share, to create something beautiful. It was a testament to the power of community, the magic that happens when people work together, side by side, hands in the dirt. Leaving that day, my muscles ached, my clothes were stained, and my fingernails were packed with earth. But I felt lighter. Like something had shifted inside me. That restlessness I'd been feeling? It was gone, replaced by this quiet sense of purpose. Guess what happened next? I kept going back. Week after week, I'd find myself drawn back to that little patch of green behind the library. I became a regular, a member of the tribe. I even started my own little plot, where I grew herbs and vegetables, with varying degrees of success, I might add. My thumbs were still mostly brown, but there were hints of green starting to peek through. And you know what? It felt good. Really, really good. So, that's my story. The story of how a community garden, a trowel, and a bunch of dirt-loving folks helped me find my roots, both literally and figuratively. It's a simple story, maybe, but it's one that reminds me of the power of connection, the beauty of simplicity, and the joy of digging in the dirt, even if you're not exactly a natural at it. You know what I mean? Sometimes, the most unexpected places can bring you the most unexpected gifts. And in my case, that gift was a little patch of green, a whole lot of dirt, and a sense of belonging that I didn't even know I was missing. So, yeah, that's it, my community garden story. What do you think? Fancy giving it a go yourself sometime? Okay, so, you will not believe what happened to me. It all started with a water jug. A water jug. Sounds mundane, right? Oh, but you are so wrong. This wasn't just any water jug. This was, well, let me tell you the whole story. You see, I've always been terrible at drinking enough water. Terribly, awfully, embarrassingly terrible. My doctor keeps telling me, hydration, hydration, hydration. Like it's some magical mantra. And I nod and agree, but then I go home and promptly forget all about it. I get caught up in work, or a good book, or just, life, and the next thing I know, it's bedtime and I've had like 2 sips of water all day. So, I decided, this time it's going to be different. This time, I'm going to conquer this hydration demon. And my weapon of choice? A new water jug. I spent ages browsing online. Seriously, I researched water jugs like I was preparing a dissertation. Glass, plastic, stainless steel, with straws, without straws, motivational quotes, time markers, the options were endless. It was overwhelming, to say the least. I felt like I needed a degree in hydration technology just to pick one. Finally, I found the one. It was this gorgeous, giant, 2-gallon behemoth of a jug. A beautiful ombre blue, fading from a deep ocean at the bottom to a bright, almost turquoise sky at the top. It had a sturdy handle, a wide mouth for easy filling and cleaning, important, and, the best part, little time markers down the side. You know, like, 8 a.m. Be hydrated, 10 a.m. Keep going, that kind of thing. Cheesy, yes, but also incredibly motivating. I felt like I had found my hydration soulmate. It arrived a few days later, and I was so excited. I ripped open the box like it was Christmas morning. I washed it meticulously, filled it with ice and water, and placed it proudly on my desk. It looked magnificent. I took a big, triumphant gulp, feeling incredibly proud of my commitment to hydration. This was it. This was the beginning of a new, hydrated me. Guess what happened next? I spilled it, all over my desk, all over my keyboard, all over the floor. 2 gallons of ice water, everywhere. It was a tidal wave of my own creation. I just stared at the watery chaos, completely dumbfounded. I felt like such a klutz. All that research, all that excitement, and within 5 minutes, I had created an indoor swimming pool. The sound of dripping water echoing in the silence was almost comical. My keyboard was clicking and sputtering, probably making its final, watery death rattle. My important documents were soaked. And me? I was standing there, dripping, in a puddle of my own well-intentioned failure. I grabbed towels, mopped up the mess, and salvaged what I could. My keyboard, miraculously, survived. My documents, however, looked like they'd been through a washing machine. So, there I was, defeated, surrounded by damp towels, and with a slightly less full, but still enormous, water jug. I felt a little ridiculous, a little frustrated, and a lot like giving up. But then, something shifted. I started laughing. I mean, really laughing. The whole situation was just so absurd. I had been so determined, so serious about this whole water jug thing, and it had blown up in my face, quite literally. It was like the universe was playing a practical joke on me. And you know what? It was okay. It was more than okay. It was hilarious. I refilled the jug, this time with a little more caution, and placed it back on my desk. I decided right then and there that I wasn't going to let one little spill derail my hydration journey. I was going to embrace the chaos, the spills, the occasional moments of clumsiness. Because, let's be honest, life is messy. And sometimes, the best thing you can do is laugh at the mess and keep going. The next few days were interesting. Let's just say there were a few near spills, some awkward moments of trying to maneuver the giant jug around my apartment, and a lot of trips to the bathroom. But I persevered. I kept filling that jug, and I kept drinking. And slowly, surprisingly, I started to actually enjoy it. The time markers, as cheesy as they were, actually helped. They gave me little goals throughout the day. Okay, I'd think, gotta get to the 1 p.m. mark before lunch. It turned drinking water into a little game, a little challenge. And who doesn't love a challenge? I also started noticing a difference. I had more energy, my skin looked better, and I just felt good. Like, really good. It was amazing how such a simple thing, like drinking enough water, could have such a big impact. So, yeah, the whole water jug saga started with a comical disaster. But it ended with a victory over dehydration, a victory over my own clumsiness, and a victory over my tendency to take things too seriously. And you know what the funniest part is? Now, I can't imagine life without my giant blue water jug. It's become my constant companion, my hydration buddy. It sits proudly on my desk, a testament to my commitment to, well, not spilling water everywhere and staying hydrated. It's a reminder that even the smallest changes, even something as simple as buying a new water jug, can make a big difference. And it's a reminder to not take myself too seriously. Because sometimes, life throws you a curveball, or in my case, 2 gallons of water, and the best thing you can do is laugh, mop it up, and keep going. You know what I mean? Learning a new language, especially speaking it, can feel like climbing a mountain, but you know what? It's totally doable and even enjoyable. Think about this. Speak even if your voice shakes. It's such a powerful reminder that it's okay to be nervous. It's okay to make mistakes. The important thing is to speak. To let your voice be heard, even if it's a little shaky at first. Each time you do, you're building confidence and getting closer to fluency. Honestly, it feels like magic when you finally understand and are understood. And you know what? There's a simple way to practice every day. Speaking during your morning walks. Just imagine the fresh air, the quiet surroundings, and you, chatting away in English. You can describe what you see, make up stories, or even practice common phrases. It's easy, fun, and you're already doing the walk anyway. It's like a secret language adventure, just for you. Making travel-related inquiries, like asking for directions or ordering food in a foreign country, can be nerve-wracking, right? Do you also find yourself understanding what others say in English, but hesitate when it's your turn to speak? It's totally normal. That little pause, that moment of gathering your thoughts, it's a sign that you're processing and learning. Each time you push through that hesitation, you're taking a huge step forward. I remember once trying to buy a train ticket in Italy. My heart was pounding. It made me think about how everyone handles those moments of nervousness. How do you handle nervousness while speaking? Do you take deep breaths? Do you visualize success? Sharing our experiences can help us all feel more confident and supported on this amazing journey. So, let's chat in the comments below. Okay, so, grab a cuppa, get comfy, because this is a story, a saga, a journey, really, about how I, yours truly, managed to save money. And it wasn't pretty, let me tell you. Not at first, anyway. It was more like a comedy of errors, a slapstick routine of financial, well, ineptitude. See, I've never been good with money. Like, at all. My idea of budgeting used to be checking my bank balance before buying something. If the number wasn't flashing angry red, I was good to go. Impulse buys? My middle name. Sales? My weakness. That cute little ceramic hedgehog holding a miniature watering can? Absolutely essential. Needed it. You know those people who effortlessly glide through life, making sensible financial decisions, investing wisely, having, like, retirement plans. I wasn't one of them. I was more of a, ooh, shiny, kind of person. And the consequences? Well, let's just say my bank account was perpetually looking thinner than a supermodel on a juice cleanse. It all came to a head last year. I was staring at a pile of bills, feeling like I was drowning in a sea of overdue notices. The aroma of stale coffee and desperation hung heavy in the air. My tiny apartment, usually my sanctuary, felt more like a prison of my own making. The buzzing of a fly trapped against the window seemed to mock my financial predicament. It was a low point. A really, really low point. I knew something had to change. I couldn't keep living paycheck to paycheck, constantly stressed about money. So, I did something radical. I talked to my grandma. Now, Grandma Betty, she's a force of nature. 90 years young, still bakes the best apple pie you've ever tasted, and has a mind sharper than a tack. She's also the queen of frugality. Grew up during the Depression, you know? She knows a thing or two about making every penny count. I poured out my woes to her, the shame burning in my throat. I expected a lecture, a told you so, but instead, she just smiled, patted my hand, and said, honey, it's never too late to learn. And so, Operation Save Money began. First, she introduced me to this magical thing, a budget. I know, sounds boring, right? But it was like, revolutionary. Grandma Betty, with the patience of a saint, sat down with me and helped me track my spending. We categorized everything, from rent and groceries to those darn ceramic hedgehogs. And guess what? It was eye-opening. Terrifying, but eye-opening. I was spending a ridiculous amount on takeout coffee. Like, enough to buy a small island nation in coffee beans, probably. So, step 1. Say goodbye to the barista and hello to my new best friend, the French press. The first few cups were, let's just say, not great. I burnt the coffee, I under-extracted it, I even managed to spill boiling water on myself at one point. But eventually, I got the hang of it. And hey, the money I saved? It was like getting a daily bonus. Small victories, right? Next on Grandma Betty's list, meal prepping. Now, I'm not a natural chef. My culinary skills peaked at instant ramen with a slightly adventurous seasoning packet. But Grandma Betty, armed with her trusty recipe book and a seemingly endless supply of Tupperware, showed me the ropes. We chopped vegetables, marinated chicken, and cooked up enormous batches of chili that could feed a small army. And honestly, it wasn't bad. Actually, it was pretty good. And the leftovers? Lunch for the entire week. Goodbye. Sad desk salads and overpriced sandwiches. Then came the dreaded closet clean out. My wardrobe was extensive. Let's just say I had a slight, massive, online shopping problem. Clothes with tags still on them, shoes I'd worn once, accessories I'd forgotten I even owned. It was a fashion graveyard in there. Grandma Betty, with her eagle eye for quality, helped me sort through the chaos. We made piles. Keep, donate, and sell. And you know what? Selling those gently used clothes online was a revelation. It wasn't a fortune, but it was enough to make a dent in my credit card debt. Plus, my closet finally felt breathable. But the biggest change wasn't about coffee or cooking or clothes. It was about my mindset. Grandma Betty taught me to appreciate the value of $1. To think before I spent. To ask myself, do I really need this, or do I just want it? It sounds simple, but it was a game changer. It was like she'd flipped a switch in my brain. The urge to impulse buy still crept up on me, of course. Like that time I almost bought a miniature inflatable flamingo pool floaty for I don't even know what I would have done with it. But I paused, I breathed, I thought of Grandma Betty's wise words, and I put it back. And you know what? I didn't even miss it. Slowly but surely, I started seeing progress. My bank account wasn't gasping for air anymore. It was breathing deep, steady breaths. It was actually starting to grow. It was, dare I say it, thriving. And it wasn't just about the money. It was about the feeling of control, the sense of accomplishment. I was finally taking charge of my finances, and it felt empowering. I was no longer drowning in debt. I was swimming towards a future where financial security wasn't a distant dream, but a tangible reality. Now, I'm not saying I'm a financial guru or anything. I still have moments of weakness. Like that time I splurged on a particularly charming ceramic squirrel holding a tiny acorn. Okay, I have a problem. But I'm learning, I'm growing, and I'm saving. So, what's the moral of the story? Talk to your grandma. She probably has some wisdom to drop. Also, budget, meal prep, sell your stuff, and maybe, just maybe, resist the urge to buy miniature ceramic animals. Unless they're really, really cute. Just kidding. Mostly. But seriously, it's amazing what you can achieve when you decide to make a change. It's not always easy, it's not always pretty, but it's always worth it. And who knows, maybe one day, I'll even be one of those people with a retirement plan. Imagine that. Until then, I'll be over here, sipping my French press coffee, eating my home-cooked chili, and admiring my clutter-free closet, feeling pretty darn good about myself. And hey, if I can do it, so can you. You know what I mean? Slight pause, a warm smile, and a sigh as if settling into a comfortable armchair. So, you know how sometimes you just feel like you need to do something? Something tangible, something that connects you to, I don't know, something bigger than yourself? That's how I felt last spring. A strange sort of restlessness, a longing for grounding, I suppose. And that's how I ended up planting a tree. Sounds simple enough, right? Oh, honey, let me tell you, it was anything but. It all started with the maple. Our old maple. It had stood sentinel in our backyard for as long as I could remember. A giant, with branches that reached for the sky like gnarled, arthritic fingers, each one a story whispered in the wind. I used to climb it as a kid, you know? Scraping my knees, imagining I was queen of some leafy kingdom. My dad would sit on the porch swing below, watching, a quiet smile playing on his lips. He loved that tree. We all did. But last winter, well, it was a rough one. Freezing rain, heavy snow, and then that awful windstorm. One morning, I woke up, looked out the window, and my heart just sank. The maple, our magnificent maple, was gone. Split right down the middle, a gaping wound exposing its heartwood, defeated, lying across the lawn. I think I stood there for a good hour, just staring. It felt wrong, like a Piece of my history had been ripped away. Do you ever feel that way? Like a tree isn't just a tree, but a living, breathing part of your life? It was more than just a tree. It was a marker of time. A silent witness to countless barbecues, birthday parties, lazy summer afternoons. It was my childhood, etched in bark and leaves. Anyway, the tree had to go. The city came and took it away, leaving behind a raw, empty space. And that's where the restlessness started. That emptiness mirrored something inside me, you know? A hollow ache. So, I decided to plant a new tree. Not to replace the maple, not really. That would be impossible. But to continue the story, I guess. To plant a new memory, a new hope. Now, I'm no gardener. I can barely keep a houseplant alive, let alone a whole tree. But I was determined. I went to the local nursery, completely overwhelmed by the sheer variety. Tiny saplings barely taller than my knee, towering evergreens, flowering trees with delicate blossoms. I wandered around for ages, touching the leaves, sniffing the blossoms, feeling completely lost. A kind old woman with dirt under her fingernails and a smile as warm as sunshine finally took pity on me. She asked me what I was looking for, and I just blurted it all out. About the maple, about the emptiness, about wanting to plant something that would last. She listened patiently, nodding occasionally, her eyes twinkling with understanding. She then led me to a small, unassuming sapling tucked away in a corner. A young oak. This one, she said, her voice gentle, this one will be strong. It will weather the storms. She told me about its slow but steady growth, its deep roots, its ability to stand tall for generations. It felt right. The next day, I set about planting it. I dug the hole myself, which was harder than it looked. The soil was heavy and clay-like, clinging to the shovel like a stubborn child. My back ached, my hands were blistered, and I'm pretty sure I swallowed a few bugs. But there was something therapeutic about it. Something about connecting with the earth, about getting my hands dirty, literally and figuratively. Guess what happened next? I dropped the sapling. Yup, right into the hole, roots first, and with a rather undignified thud. I panicked. I'd envisioned this beautiful, ceremonial moment, and here I was, fumbling around like someone who had never planted a tree before. I gently lifted it out, straightened the roots, and placed it back in the hole, this time with a little more care. I filled the hole with soil, patting it down firmly, whispering apologies to the little oak for my clumsiness. Then I watered it, slowly, deliberately, as if pouring in not just water, but also hope, and a little piece of my heart. It looked so small, so fragile, standing there in the vast emptiness of the yard. I wondered if it would survive. I wondered if I was doing the right thing. I wondered if I would ever see it grow tall and strong, like the maple had been. Over the next few weeks, I checked on it constantly. Watering it, weeding around it, talking to it, don't judge me. Every tiny new leaf, every inch of growth felt like a small victory. It was slow, painstakingly slow, but it was growing. And you know what? As the oak grew, something inside me started to heal too. The emptiness began to fill, slowly, just like the space in the yard. The oak wasn't a replacement for the maple, not at all. It was something new, something different, something hopeful. Now, months later, the little oak is still there. It's still small, but it's stronger now, more resilient. It's weathered a few storms, a few scorching summer days, and it's still standing tall. And every time I look at it, I'm reminded of that day, the day I planted a tree. The day I planted a new memory, a new hope. A reminder that even after the biggest storms, even after the greatest losses, there's always the possibility of new beginnings. And sometimes, all it takes is a little seed, a little dirt, and a whole lot of heart. A gentle smile, a faraway look, a quiet sip of tea. So, yeah. That's the story of the day I planted a tree. What about you? Ever planted anything? From the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for spending this time with me and for always being such wonderful listeners. I truly appreciate you staying connected and sharing these moments together. If you'd like to stay updated and keep our daily English speaking and listening practice going, I'd love it if you would follow, like, subscribe, and share this video. You know, before we go, it made me wonder, Are you trying out a new hobby or activity this month? It is always so lovely to hear what everyone is thinking about, and sharing your plans in the comments is a fantastic way to practice expressing yourselves in English and connect with other viewers. It's also just plain fun. See you tomorrow, everyone, and remember to take good care of yourselves and keep practicing.